Li Jing traversed into the realm of cultivation, only to be expelled by his family due to his five-element spiritual root. Thus, he found himself joining the Beast Sect as a mere servant disciple. Unfortunately, he faced oppression from the stewards, who dispatched him to the vast wilderness of the 10,000 Great Desolation to establish himself as the lord of a mountain. Little did he expect that upon harvesting a spiritual herb, a panel suddenly materialized before his eyes. Physique: Innate Agricultural Saint Body, awakening at 1%. Effect: maturation rate of spiritual plants increased by 20%, yield enhanced by 20%. Green Wood Celestial Energy, 0 lifespan, 60. The Green Wood Celestial Energy could be utilized to accelerate the ripening of spiritual plants, convert lifespan, and rapidly heal injuries. Li Jing immediately fell in love with this newfound ability. As a model youth of the 21st century, he was not adept at brawling or competing fiercely. Instead, he decided to cultivate the land slowly in pursuit of longevity. If they wouldn't allow him to farm, he would simply turn the tables on them. Chapter 1. Innate Agricultural Saint Body. In the spirit realm, within the human territory of Qi, at the recruitment station for servant disciples of the Beast Sect. Li Jing, your five-element spiritual root poses quite a challenge, remarked Steward Chun, his thumb and forefinger lightly rubbing together, casting a half-smile in Li Jing's direction. Li Jing wore a smile of humble submission, saying, Steward Chun, I have long admired the Beast Sect. I implore you to show some leniency. As he spoke, he discreetly slipped 10 spirit stones into Steward Chen's hand. Seeing this, Steward Chen's lips curled slightly, yet he feigned a troubled expression. Our Beast Sect have a long-standing rule against accepting servant disciples with five-element spiritual roots. I cannot easily break this precedent. Yet he clutched the 10 spirit stones tightly, a glimmer of greed flickering in his eyes. Li Jing seethed inwardly, but outwardly remained even more humble. He then produced a small vial from his robe, whispering, Steward Chun, this is a vial of cultivation-enhancing elixir I fortuitously obtained. I hope you'll accept it. Steward Chen's eyes sparkled with interest as he took the vial, opened it, and inhaled its fragrant aroma, revealing a satisfied expression. Clearing his throat, he pretended to be reluctant, saying, Well, seeing your sincerity, I shall make an exception this once. However, with your qualifications, you will only be able to assist the sect in its endeavors in the wilderness. What? Li Jing's eyes widened. He had long heard of the sect's ventures into the wilderness, a place teeming with ferocious beasts, where the mortality rate for servant disciples soared to 60%. With his mere first level of Qi refinement, he feared he might not return. What's the matter? Are you unwilling? Steward Chen's expression turned cold, as he swiftly stashed the elixir and spirit stones into his storage pouch, making any hope of reclaiming them utterly futile. Li Jing gritted his teeth in frustration at the steward's avarice. However, he understood the reality of his situation and did not wish to continue as a lone cultivator. I am willing, Li Jing replied, taking a deep breath. One must bow their head beneath the eaves. After all, the stewards of the Beast Sect were all at the foundation establishment stage, and he was but a frail youth, easily extinguished with a single slap. Steward Chen chuckled, waving his hand as he inscribed Li Jing's name in the register. All right, you may go over there to receive your servant attire and identification token. You are now officially a servant disciple of the Beast Sect. Shortly, someone will escort you to the 10,000 Great Desolation. Do not say I accepted spirit stones to facilitate this matter. However, venturing into the wilderness grants you an entire mountain, spanning over 100 acres, and all the harvest for the year will belong to you. Upon hearing this, Li Jing felt somewhat relieved. If the entire mountain were to be filled with spiritual grain, how many spirit stones could that yield? However, upon further reflection, his expression darkened. Such words sounded appealing, but the reality was that it was barren land. How much time would it take to cultivate it? And what would happen if the sect reclaimed it afterward? Moreover, there were the threats of demonic beasts. It would be fortunate to preserve one's life, let alone speak of harvests. Li Jing sighed. At least there was a glimmer of hope. He had truly endured enough as a wandering cultivator these past few years, living under the constant threat of uncertainty and with scarce resources. As a transmigrator, finding himself in such a predicament was quite unfortunate. Indeed, he was not of this world. In his previous life, he had stumbled into fortune the moment he stepped outside, finding himself in this realm of cultivation. He had become a direct descendant of the Leaf family, a prestigious lineage, yet his talents were woefully inadequate. Possessing 5 elemental roots, He had been expelled from the Leaf family to fend for himself upon reaching adulthood. Some might question how a direct descendant could end up in such dire straits. The answer lay in his father, who had taken over 100 wives and concubines, resulting in a progeny numbering nearly 80. Other direct descendants possessed better talents, and to prevent waste of family resources, they had naturally cast him out to become a wandering cultivator. Arriving at the errand worker's station, he was met by a young man of striking appearance. Upon glimpsing Li Jing's information, a spark of recognition flickered in his eyes. His fellow Taoist, Li of the Leaf family of Cloud Mist Mountain? The young man inquired with a smile. Li Jing, feeling puzzled, nodded slightly indeed. Ha ha ha. Cousin Li, I am Li Xian, also of the Cloud Mist Mountain Li family, a fellow direct descendant. I hope the family is well. Li Xian sprang to his feet, visibly excited. I never expected to meet a cousin here. Forgive me for not recognizing you. Li Jing smiled faintly. After all, they were family, which brought a sense of familiarity. Cousin, what brings you to the great wilderness to cultivate? Li Xian's expression sobered, his brow furrowing in concern. Li Jing shook his head with a bitter smile, recounting his misfortunes to Li Xian. That elder Chun is truly unkind. Li Xian sighed. Alas, with 5 elemental roots, venturing into the wild is still preferable to being a wandering cultivator, though it is perilous. Regrettably, my influence is limited, and I cannot arrange for you to go elsewhere. It's all right. I am content to join the Beast Taming Sect. Li Jing managed a strained smile, as it was certainly more stable than the life of a wandering cultivator. Li Xian's expression shifted slightly as he produced a crimson longbow from his storage bag and handed it to Li Jing. Cousin, your cultivation is but at the 8th level of Qi refinement. There is nothing of great value here. Allow me to give you this low-grade, first-tier red sun bow. This is entirely unacceptable. Please take it back. Li Jing hurriedly declined, for a low-grade first-tier magical tool was worth 4 or 5 spirit stones. I have no use for this bow. The great wilderness is fraught with danger, often beset by low-level demonic beasts. With this red sun bow, you shall have an additional layer of protection, Li Xian insisted, forcing it into Li Jing's hands. With no other option, Li Jing accepted it. Following that, Li Xian produced 2 black robes for errand disciples and an identity token, offering them to Li Jing. Dear cousin, cultivate diligently in the days to come. Despite our humble talents, the family shall not forsake us. Li Xian beamed at Li Jing, and upon noticing another individual approaching for their allocation, he waved his hand, signaling him to depart. Li Jing was deeply touched and repeatedly expressed his gratitude, but as he turned away, a shadow crossed his countenance. What scheme could Li Xian be plotting? He was not naive enough to believe in such altruism. After years of navigating the treacherous waters as a rogue cultivator, he had become accustomed to the deceptions and intrigues of others. How could one so readily bestow a low-grade magical artifact worth 40 to 50 spirit stones? They shared no kinship. Even among family members, they were not blood brothers. Even blood brothers could become sworn enemies over a mere artifact. After a moment of contemplation, Li Jing surmised that this must pertain to the interests of their clan. Whatever the case, a free artifact is a boon. I shall deal with future matters as they arise. Upon returning to the waiting area, he found 3 individuals already seated. One was a middle-aged man, perhaps in his 50s or 60s, clad in tattered garments, his eyes glinting with greed as they fell upon Li Jing's sunbow. Among the remaining 2, a young woman donned a pale yellow dress, her skin as white as snow, exuding an innocent charm. The other was a young man in his 20s, with a face like jade, scanning his surroundings with evident anxiety. Li Jing chose not to engage in conversation and found a seat, awaiting the arrival of Steward Chun to escort them to the great wilderness. Before long, Steward Chun strode over, producing a silver-white flying vessel from his storage bag. Board the vessel. I shall take you to the great wilderness, he announced indifferently. Upon hearing this, the group hastily climbed aboard, and with a swift incantation, the vessel soared into the sky, transforming into a streak of silver light as it sped towards the horizon. At that moment, the tattered middle-aged man rubbed his hands together and addressed Li Jing. Friend, I am Yin Jian, a humble rogue cultivator. May I inquire your esteemed surname? Li Jing frowned inwardly, but replied with composure. I am Li Jing, a scion of the Leaf family from Cloud Mist Mountain. Yin Jian's heart skipped a beat, and he chuckled awkwardly. Ah, esteemed friend hails from a prestigious lineage. I have been quite presumptuous. Not all, no offense taken. As we journey to the great wilderness, we may encounter peril. Your assistance may be required in the future. Li Jing narrowed his eyes, sensing the man's ulterior motives regarding the sunbow. If he did not invoke the Leaf family name, there was a real possibility of treachery. Indeed, it is only natural. As cultivators venturing into the wild, we must unite and support one another, lest we fall prey to the beasts that lurk therein. Yin Jian replied with a slight smile, his gaze still lingering on the sunbow. The remaining two passengers leaned in to listen, nodding in agreement at his words. The atmosphere lightened, and they began to introduce themselves. The young woman was named Huang Yin, a member of a modest family with a tri-spirit root, who, unsupported by her clan, sought sustenance within the Beastmaster sect. The young man introduced himself as He Xiao, a practitioner from the He family of Bamboo Mountain, equally of mediocre talent, compelled to join the Beastmaster sect. Deacon Chun cast a glance at the crowd and casually tossed out 4 storage bags, stating, "Within these bags lie the tools and seeds necessary for your farming endeavors, along with provisions for a month, as well as the cultivation methods of the Beastmaster sect. The sect will supply food monthly, and after a year, you shall be self-sufficient, at which point the sect will collect 60% of your harvest." The group hurriedly accepted the storage bags, their excitement palpable. Yin Jian's eyes sparkled with enthusiasm as he continuously rubbed the bag, yearning to press his face against it. The flying vessel sped through the skies for a day, finally arriving at their destination, a land of undulating mountains, shrouded in mist, with verdant hues stretching as far as the eye could see. Terraced fields adorned the mountaintops, where sunlight cascaded down, shimmering like liquid gold. After escorting the 4 individuals off the flying vessel, Deacon Shun transformed into a glimmer of silver light and departed. Li Jing examined the storage bag, reflecting on the benefits of joining the sect. Although the bag was merely of low-grade quality, it was still worth over 20 spirit stones. Surveying his surroundings, Li Jing discovered that the area he was assigned to was named Siwei Mountain. Previously, a disciple had managed it for a year before being carried away by a beast. The spiritual fields they had cultivated were now overrun by weeds, with only a sparse amount of mature spiritual rice struggling to survive amidst the thicket. Curious, Li Jing snapped a stalk of the spiritual rice, and suddenly, a blue glowing panel appeared before his eyes. Constitution, Innate Farming Saint Body, awakening at 1%. Effect 1. Growth rate of spiritual plants increased by 20%. Effect 2. Yield increased by 20%. Effect 3. Cultivation speed increased by 10%. Effect 4. Comprehension improved by 5%. Innate Immortal Qi. Lifespan, 21,900 days. Is this a system? Li Jing exclaimed in delight. But soon a wave of information surged into his mind, causing his expression to shift slightly. According to the information, this was not a system at all, but rather the awakening of his innate constitution, the Innate Farming Saint Body, also referred to as the Ao Mu Immortal Body, albeit not fully awakened. The panel was a manifestation of the Ao Mu Immortal Body, transmuted into an understandable format based on his memories, guiding him on how to awaken his immortal body. The Ao Mu Immortal Qi could be utilized to awaken his constitution, hasten the growth of spiritual plants, and convert lifespan. Overwhelmed with the information flooding his mind, Li Jing nearly shouted in exhilaration. This constitution was remarkable. If he merely focused on farming, achieving immortality would no longer be a dream. Chapter 2. Siwei Mountain. As he ascended the mountain path, to his left lay a tranquil and profound forest, where bird calls were scarce and the chirping of insects grew faint, sending a chill down Li Jing's spine. Promptly, he drew his bowstring taut, vigilantly peering into the depths of the forest. After a moment, the sounds of birds and insects resumed, indicating no immediate threat. However, he remained cautious. It was likely that beasts lurked within the woods, and any misstep could result in a sudden attack. Hastening along the mountain trail, he arrived at the summit, where a dilapidated wooden cabin stood. Its walls bore the terrifying marks of claws and faint traces of blood, sending a shiver through him. Li Jing's heart tightened. These were likely the remnants of the previous errant disciple's struggle with a beast. Kicking open the door of the cabin, he swiftly retreated, aware that if a beast lay in wait inside, escape would be nearly impossible. After a prolonged silence within the wooden cabin, Li Jing exhaled a sigh of relief and cautiously entered, clutching the crimson sunbow. The interior of the cabin was already cloaked in a thick layer of dust. As he stepped inside, the dust swirled into the air, filling it with a faint odor of decay and mildew, prompting Li Jing to cough. He glanced around the modestly furnished cabin, which contained merely a wooden bed and a few tables and chairs. Nothing more. A large hole in the roof allowed beams of light to filter through, illuminating the dust motes that danced in the air. To the right of the entrance, there was a small door. Upon pushing it open, he found the kitchen, where a small stack of firewood was built in one corner, while an assortment of rusted animal traps lay piled on the opposite side. After surveying the kitchen, Jing noted that the iron pot had succumbed to rust. Fortunately, the storage pouch bestowed by Steward Chun contained sufficient provisions, alleviating the need for further shopping. Returning to the main room, Jing took advantage of the remaining daylight to commence cleaning. Dust billowed into the air, compelling him to open the windows, allowing the particles to disperse with the breeze. After an hour of diligent tidying, the cabin appeared revitalized, infused with a semblance of life. Having completed these tasks, Jing returned to the kitchen to examine the collection of animal traps. Although the Qingwei Mountain had been cleared of many beasts, it was prudent to assume that a few might still lurk unseen. Night was rapidly approaching, and should any beasts venture out after dark, a mere first-level Qi refining cultivator like him would surely meet an untimely demise. Upon inspection, he found 10 traps, 2 of which were broken. Jing retrieved the remaining 8 intact traps, meticulously checking them for functionality before setting them up around the cabin. He concealed the traps amidst the grass and trees, leaving only small mechanisms exposed so that any beast stepping upon them would be ensnared. By the time he finished setting the traps, darkness had enveloped the surroundings. He hastily secured the wooden door and inspected the walls of the cabin. Despite their numerous cracks and decay, they would offer some measure of protection against any approaching beasts. Resolute, Jing decided to repair the cabin first thing in the morning. Otherwise, should a beast attack, he would be utterly defenseless, ensuring an early end to his life. Having recently awakened to such formidable potential, he could not afford to perish prematurely. Lighting a candle, he opened the storage pouch provided by Steward Chun to examine its contents. Within, he discovered a sickle, a hoe, a hatchet, an iron pot, bedding, and an ample supply of spirit rice seeds. These spirit rice seeds shimmered with a golden hue, as if infused with a flowing light. Jing recognized them as golden spirit rice, a low-tier spiritual plant that yields approximately 400 pounds per acre. Consuming it could enhance one's cultivation and improve one's physical constitution. However, it required prolonged consumption to yield significant benefits. A mere taste would not suffice. The price of golden spirit rice was 30 pounds per spirit stone, yielding only 13 spirit stones per acre. Jing felt rather satisfied with this. Given his innate talent, he could increase the yield by 20%, meaning an additional 80 pounds of spirit rice, translating to 2 more spirit stones in profit. The storage pouch held many more items, and as he glanced inside, he was surprised to find a curved plow, which made him involuntarily twitch the corner of his mouth. In this desolate place, where could one possibly procure a cow? Even if there were nearby markets, they would be beyond his financial reach. Over the years, he had exhausted his amassed spirit stones on elixirs to enhance his cultivation and had even bribed Elder Chun, leaving him utterly destitute. He emptied his storage bag, revealing a sack of rice weighing 100 pounds. Mere ordinary rice, not the spiritual variety. Next, several yellowing books tumbled out, and Jing picked them up to examine. Among them was the Longevity Sutra, a cultivation method popular among low-tier practitioners. This technique nurtures a prolonged spiritual essence and sustains vitality within the body, allowing one to achieve the pinnacle of Qi refinement and extend their lifespan significantly, potentially living up to 150 years. The realms of cultivation are categorized as follows: Qi refinement, foundation establishment, golden core, nascent soul, spirit transformation, void return, integration, great ascension, and loose immortal. Jing practiced the same Longevity Sutra, a balanced and harmonious method that comprises 12 layers, of which he had only mastered the first. He glanced at the remaining books, which contained spells and a manual on cultivating spiritual rice. There was the sound wave technique, enabling the caster to unleash a sound wave. While its lethality was modest, it primarily served to eliminate pests threatening the spiritual rice. The golden thread technique allowed the caster to conjure a slender golden thread, as fine as silk, with the hue of molten gold and the resilience of tempered steel. This technique possessed formidable offensive capabilities, effective against both pests and demonic beasts. The Spirit Shield technique enabled the creation of a magical shield of energy before oneself, though its defensive power was rather average. The final tome was inscribed with the Beast Heart Communication Record, a method for taming beasts, a foundational technique of the Beast Taming Sect. Naturally, such a method would be out of reach for mere servant disciples. Li Jing perused it for a while, discovering it to be a fragmented text, useful only for subjugating low-tier demonic beasts. On the first night, at Sui Mountain, Li Jing felt no inclination to sleep. He began to delve into the golden thread technique. With a touch of insight, even minimal, his learning process became significantly more manageable than before. Imitating a tiger drawing a cat, he formed a hand seal, and a golden thread flowed from his fingertips, shimmering like the fine threads adorning a golden robe. The golden thread flashed brilliantly, piercing the wall and emerging unscathed, leaving no trace of the assault on the wood. Li Jing was quite pleased. The penetrating power of the golden thread technique was truly astonishing. If he could cultivate it to perfection, he could undoubtedly achieve the ability to kill without leaving a trace. As the night deepened, the melodious chirping of insects filled the air. After listening for any disturbances outside and finding none, he extinguished the candle and succumbed to slumber. The silver moonlight seeped through the broken eaves, transforming into delicate fairy-like wisps that gently brushed against the dust-laden beams, carrying with it a hint of ethereal chill. The following morning, Li Jing awoke early, having spent the night in a state of unease, fearing the intrusion of demonic beasts, and thus remained in a semi-conscious state. He made his way to the kitchen, where he used the firewood to prepare a pot of rice porridge, a simple meal to sustain him. He then retrieved his axe from the storage bag, intending to fell some trees to repair his wooden dwelling. Standing atop the mountain, he surveyed the surroundings. In front of Sui Mountain, some spiritual fields had been cleared, though they lay in ruin. To the west, a dense forest loomed, its thick foliage concealing unknown entities lurking within. On the eastern flank of Sui Mountain, dense thickets abound, with entwined vines and lush foliage concealing the presence of numerous mice and snakes. To the north lies the rear mountain, a verdant bamboo grove where clouds and mist weave through the valleys, and the swaying bamboo creates a scene reminiscent of undulating azure waves, as if celestial beings are gracefully waving their sleeves, exuding an ethereal charm. Li Jing found great delight in this bamboo forest, for it is a veritable treasure trove. One can harvest bamboo shoots for sale and utilize the bamboo for constructing dwellings. Moreover, should a few rare spiritual bamboos emerge among these stalks, it would be a windfall, as they could be employed in the forging of magical artifacts. The Li family of Yunmu Mountain built their reputation upon the art of artifact crafting. As a scion of the clan, he has studied the techniques of forging and has even replicated several texts. However, until now, his comprehension had been somewhat limited, preventing him from making any significant progress. With the awakening of his celestial physique and the enhancement of his understanding, he should now find it entirely feasible to embark upon the path of artifact forging.